It's like, all right, we're live. Yay! I'm so excited. Like, this makes me so happy. I always love it, especially when I haven't had a chance to really get to meet you ahead of time. Like, because then the story's new to me, and I'm like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that, and it's so it's always exciting. But hello, everybody, and welcome to the TUF Woman Table, episode 60. So like 60. It's episode 60. All right. One of these days, I'm gonna have to start writing the episodes down. When we hit like well over 100, I'm gonna be 150. We're at 150. So, all right, you guys, as you come in, say hey. You guys already like know the deal, but I'm gonna say this over and over again. Say hey. Let me know how you're doing. Where are you guys coming from tonight? And how freaking excited are you for episode 60? Because I'm excited. Woo-woo. All right, you guys. So, and Kim, you're going to have to remind me of your last name in a minute because I did not write it down. So that's okay. But before I introduce you guys to my special guest who dropped in on to make up for my other guest. Okay, so Shay says, hey, my other guest is not feeling well, and she is located in the UK, I believe, UK, London. So we're hoping she gets better. Shay, hey, I hope you get better. Angela says, hello. Oh, look at everyone. So as you come in, again, say hey, let us know where you're coming from. Please, 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 you guys, engage with us, ask questions, join in this conversation. And if you find value and you love the show so much, please feel free to go ahead and hit that share button and share this out to your audience so that I can bring more women and these stories to you guys. So without further ado, I'm going to drop into my intro and I'm going to introduce you guys to my guests. So hello and welcome to the TUF Woman Table. I will never get tired of saying this. So this is the table, and I'm going to say something about my intro before we dive into anything, but this is the table where I invite some super badass tough women to take a seat, join in on the conversation, and share their amazing story. At TUF Woman, I believe that all women have the power within themselves to live life authentically, free from fear, confident in who they are, and empowered as fuck to go out and get exactly what they want, whatever that looks like to them. So I share this belief by championing tough women who have walked through the fire, felt the fear, faced adversity, and kept pushing through it all. Women who now live the life that they want as women, as the woman they were created to be, and women who own and share their stories so that other women can own and share theirs as well. Because as we all know, when we give ourselves permission to own and share stories, we give somebody else permission in the same breath. So, you guys, Lechnick, there you go. Oh. All right. This she does look. I love her hair. I'm like, oh, but yes. She's awesome. But I was gonna say I almost changed this intro, and I've had people tell me like, oh, that intro is fantastic, and I'm like, so
I love it.
60 episodes in, and I almost have it memorized. Almost.
I love it. It's fantastic. I can feel the energy and the power. It's fantastic.
Man, you're like a bright ray of sunshine. Like, I really love it. I always love it when I have guests that come on and their vibe's like way, way higher than mine. I'm like, yes. Okay, so I want to introduce you guys to my special guest, relationship coach, Kimberly Lechnick. Is that how you pronounce it?
You almost have it. It's Lechnick.
Lechnick. Okay. You know what? I should have known that. I worked with a girl named, with her last name was Lechner, and it was Lechner.
Yes.
Not to bore anyone with names, but all right. So you guys, this is my special guest, Kimberly Lechnick.
You got it.
Is filling in. So I am so excited, as I always believe that every guest that comes on, this is actually meant to be their episode. So without further ado, Kimberly, tell everybody a little bit about who you are, who do you serve, and what do you do?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Well, my name is Kimberly Lechnick. I'm a relationship coach. I'm also a welcoming coordinator for an entrepreneurial group, which I'm super excited for, extremely grateful. But relationship coach, absolutely. And I am on a mission, so extremely passionate about transforming the way families interact today.
Okay, so see, when I heard relationship coach, I thought maybe like relationships.
Well, it is all about the relationships. I actually look at relationship as a puzzle, right?
Mhm.
So it is a puzzle, and there's a bunch of different relationships. But in essence, I work with many, but I'm passionate about the family, right? And we're all part of a family.
Oh yeah, no, I love that. In fact, I'm all for like tribe, and I think that's why I'm so passionate about women finding tribes, because when you
Mhm.
find your people, like your spiritual family, as I call it, it really makes that much more of a difference and impact in your life. Like it's that can't. I used to be one of those chicks that was like, I'm just not friends with women. Like that's not my thing. I don't get along with
I
them.
hear ya.
Looking back, looking now at where I'm at, I'm sitting there going, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have the women in my life that I have. Like, I don't know what I would do. Like, there's just no way I could be friends with men like I am with the women I'm friends with now. Like, there's just no way. Also, because men probably wouldn't want to hear some of the stuff that I talk about. So it's like, that's like, I don't want to hear about that. They don't want to hear about periods and all that other wonderful things that go out and cramps and all that other stuff. All right. So this is my favorite. It's my favorite question in the whole world, because this is really the tip off point. So tell everybody, I want to know, what is the backstory that got you to where you are at now in life? Like, what is it that started you? And feel free. Some people go, my God, let's start way, way in the back. So yeah, feel free to start where you feel called to.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Ashley, again, for having me. I'm all about being flexible. And so you're right. I have to go backwards. I absolutely have to go backwards, when I was just a wee one. And my family, like many families out there, they just didn't have, at the moment, they didn't have what it took to, have those strong connections, to build that strong foundation. And that left, started with a divorce and, many other difficult challenges throughout my life. We had alcohol abuse, we had substance abuse in our family. That left me, with mom, then with dad, then with grandma and grandpa. And, I have to say that I'm really, really grateful that I had my grandparents in my life. They really honestly created a stability. And, and to this day, to this absolute day, even though my grandfather has passed, he is watching over me. He is absolutely my angel. So it did start way, way back. And then around the age of 16, in high school, I had a home ec. So just to paint the picture, I had a lot of instability. My family, struggled with alcohol. My half sister struggled with addiction, and there was me, right? I knew I wanted a different path. I didn't know what that path looked like, but I knew that I could lean in on my grandparents. They were kind of like my safety net, right? So around 16 years of age, I found myself back living with my mom, and I went to high school, and my home ec teacher, approached me and said, Kimberly, what do you think about working with kiddos? What do you think about working with kiddos? And I'm like, I absolutely love the idea. I totally want to work with kiddos. So that led to my 25-year journey supporting children and families. So if you can imagine, from 16 years until now, just whether it was supporting other people's children and supporting their family unit, or it was supporting my family. I have two boys. Now, so it's been my lifelong journey to support, and at the time, there was a specific moment I remember in my life. Again, I'm going to flip back. I have to do that. Where during all of the turmoil and all the struggle, I had a moment in my life where I looked up, right? My family wasn't extremely religious. But I felt like God just inside of me, I felt God inside me. I looked up one night and I said, you know what, God, I just can't do this anymore. I can't handle it. And I will tell you, and I should have prefaced that before, but I will tell you that the very next day, that's when the home ec teacher approached me with that. Right? So when people say, I'm not sure about my belief system, I'm not sure, what my higher power looks like, I'm telling you, I believe it. I believe in it because God has been leading me, and he has been leading me the whole time. Sometimes I was really honestly tuned into that. Right. And I feel like that's where my intuitive gifts come from. And then sometimes maybe not so clear, right? Like I fell off the path and maybe not really honestly following him the way I should have followed him, because really in essence, he was following me. He has been chasing me. He's absolutely been chasing me and trying to catch me for a really long time. But here I am. And I want to share another pivotal moment so I had my, two kiddos, and I'm trying to think like, what is it? How should I take these 25 years I have been supporting children and families? How should I take them? Because I was in the childcare industry for a really long time, and I put myself through school, through college, and I graduated with a speech language pathology degree. And then with that degree, I supported children on the autism spectrum. I supported all types of children that have language disorder, special needs, whatever. But I was so passionate about children, right? So I'm like in my life going, what's next for me? What's next? And I thought about a few different things, and I said, you know what? All of a sudden, again, with this idea that my grandfather is, looking out for me, watching me, I see this email for relationship coaching. So I started doing this training, and I'm like, oh my God, this is it. And God's sitting in the corner, right? Ashley, God's sitting in the corner, tapping his foot, saying, honey, I've been waiting for you. Do this, do this.
Hello. This is it.
And I'm going, oh yeah. But yeah, so I did my training, and voila, 2 years ago, in August, I had opened my relationship coaching practice, and I have never looked back. I absolutely love everything about it. So again, my name's Kimberly Lechnick, and I am on a mission to transform the way families interact today. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Deborah says, hey, ladies. Deborah is a relationship coach as well, but she's focusing on helping build strong marriages and keeping marriages intact. So
I love it.
And I want to talk a moment, because you are very similar to me in that we are both a product, product of divorce. And I don't want to say that in the way that we've edified that kind of thing. Yep. But, really when you're coming out of that space of divorce, and especially, and I like that you talk about a lot of this, because my daughter is a product of both parents, both being a child of teen parents, so first and foremost, but also seeing the substance abuse. And I have to ask, when you were coming up, how did that really affect your ability to have relationships? Because I know there are a lot of women in the space who deal with those things growing up, and it can really affect us. So how did that affect you growing up, and how were you able to move through that and heal through that so that it didn't become something that you carried with you?
Well, I want to be really honest and frank about this. I never drank growing up. I never smoked. I didn't, because I knew in my mind somehow, again, I believe it was a higher power, that if I did do it, and of course later in life when I was in college and I took my college courses in psychology and abnormal psychology, I learned that I had that predisposition. And with that predisposition came great responsibility, right? It kind of took pieces of my childhood away from me. So I kind of never really dabbled in it. So whereas when we're growing up, it's really a normal phase of life, right? To try things and make mistakes. You asked a very great question. How did it impact me? Well, I didn't want to make mistakes. I did not want to make any mistakes, but Lord knows I did. I did. And I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for it. And that's great. But I didn't really, cognitively as a young person, I didn't really want to make mistakes. So I was very careful. I was very careful. And yes, it did impact my relationships. It did. I wasn't as courageous as I could have been. It impacted my self-esteem. Absolutely. Right. So even though I had my higher power, at that point in my life, my young teenage years, for instance, or college years, I wasn't really plugged into it. Right. So my higher power would come in and come out, would do these whispers to me. But I wasn't really tuning in because, of course, we all know when we're teens and when we're in our 20s, we think we know everything.
Yeah.
So, been there, done that, thought I knew everything. I've got this all under control. But what it impacted my ability to relate to my mother and to relate to my father on the level that we really depend on. When I think of my relationships with my children and how I show up for my children, right? I'm always there to speak with them. I'm always there. And I think that I'm there, like I was at a conference. I'll use this example. I was at a conference this last weekend, and my son, my older son, and I, my 15-year-old, still having conversation over the phone, still providing him what he needs. So even though I'm out of sight, right, I'm still available for him. So yes, Ashley, absolutely. Hopefully I was not too unclear about that. It definitely impacted my relationships. Absolutely, unequivocally. I would be lying if I said it didn't. But you know what? I'm so absolutely grateful for it. I'm absolutely grateful for it because in the end, there were so many nuggets of learning inside my experience that it has just made me all the more stronger. So I have so much gratitude for my life.
Oh my gosh, I love it. She says, I love the transparency. And see, that's why I'm so passionate about people sharing their stories, especially in the online space where we feel we have to show up and we have to be perfect and things have to be a certain way. And I always like preached, and I'll say it, not necessarily I'm preaching down to you, but it's like, people just want to see you. People want to see this. So my next natural question is going to be, because you talked about, I got these nuggets. What were some of these nuggets you got from going through this and having these experiences?
These nuggets were that relationships, as a young person, relationships are a lot of work. That even though I did not drink, even though I did not take drugs and I did not smoke, I still have the behaviors in me of those. I mean, the behaviors, the core behaviors of what draws someone to an addiction. So even though I did none of that, right? And I did all the hard work. Oh, I'm not going to do that, whatever, because I always thought, oh my God, if I take a drink, I'm just going to turn into an alcoholic. If I did this, I'm going to be a drug addict, so that was always on top of mind. So my central nervous system, my amygdala, was always open. It was always open. It was always firing. Everything was on top of my skin, right? So I learned all about anxiety. I learned all about anxiety and what anxiety looks like. But the beauty in that is when you learn about it, right? You learn, and it presents itself as like a gift, right? It's wreaking havoc on your life, but you're like, this is such a gift because I have this beautiful awareness, I can do something about it. I can absolutely do something about it. So I can look at it and reframe it, right? So when we're going through challenges and things are coming up for us in life, we have choices. Choice is always ours. We can look at it in a negative frame, or we can reframe it into a positive frame. And that is what I have chosen to do time and time again. Now, don't mind, I'm not saying that I don't have pain, because there's times that I could fill buckets buckets of tears coming from my eyes. But in the end, after that release is done and I get a day of rest and I reconnect with myself, I'm feeling good.
You know, you have to be one of the like, I want to say super grounded people that I've talked to, although I've talked to some really grounded people, but you're just like, I am right here in this.
I am.
And Deborah says, I can relate. I had an alcoholic stepfather. It affected me too. And it really does. And, you know, seeing my daughter go through the same thing. Her dad was a drug addict and he's now an alcoholic. And, you know, it's crazy to think about the predispositions, because it's like you have a doctor say, okay, well, your child is predisposition to this. And it's like, well, what do you do to keep them from going down that road? And I have to ask that as a parent whose child has that. How do you work to help prevent them from going into the predisposition? Because that's something that intrigues me. And seeing as you've been through this part of your journey and you've really got a good grip on that, how do you view a way to help, like other parents like myself, help their children not go down that road?
That is a loaded question, Ashley. But that is a loaded question. But you know, I did talk about transforming the way families interact, and that's what I'm passionate about, right? I think it's all about the communication, right? It's all about communication, open communication, being willing to hear something that you absolutely don't want to hear. Even if your child, for instance, is making mistakes, being there and telling them that you are going to absolutely love them through it. Love them through it. And let them know that in this life, you will make mistakes, and that is okay. But I am here to catch you. And I'm also here to let you know, that it is okay to make a mistake. I think that it's really important for us to teach our kids boundaries. So let me tell a quick story really quick. So let's use the simple example of a child. You know, when you get together for family functions, it's not uncommon for family members to say, oh, go hug or go kiss Aunt Millie, you know, or go give so-and-so a hug because you haven't seen them in a really long time. My thing is, if your child is not a hugger, don't let them have their own boundary. Teach them to set their own boundary. How do they feel comfortable greeting someone? This is a perfect, simple example of what we can be teaching our kids, because I'm telling you, this is powerful, because this translates later in life. Later in life, when we're talking about boundaries, our boundaries evolve, right? So let's take the kiddo who was kind of told that they needed to hug Uncle Frank, had to hug Grandma Jane, had to hug Uncle Harry, or whatever their names would be. What is that boundary look like later in life? You begin to associate that you really don't have a choice, that you need to go hug this person, you need to do this, this is a need. No, this is your choice. So I'll use another example. My older son came to me, I think it was like last year or something, 2 years ago, and said, you know what, Mom, I know you take a lot of pictures. I don't want my picture on social media. I do not want my pictures on social media. So I have two choices as a parent, right? Well, I have many choices, but I have two choices. I can say, you know what, I'm the parent. I say what goes, and you will, I'm going to post it because I want to do it. Or I can show him that I respect him. And I can say, you know what, I'm so glad that you came to me with that. I'm so glad you came to me with that and told me how you're feeling, because if you didn't do that, then I wouldn't have known how you felt. Thank you so much. And I honored him for that. And I'm telling you, these small things that we think are small really are not small, because later down the line, they translate in how our kids show up in this world, right? The kinds of friends that they're choosing.
Mhm.
So you were wondering about how to kind of curb that, keep an eye on those things. I think those are really honestly key. Those are key. We want to know our children's friends.
Mhm.
We want to know who they're with, who's influencing them. But more importantly, we want them to be communicating with us, coming to us, keeping those lines of communication open with us so they choose us for a resource.
Mhm. Agreed.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do comments real. She says, Deborah says, I agree. Communication is powerful, and I like that we're having this conversation. I'll tell you why in a minute. Lots of fire emojis, right? And then oh my God. You know, it's funny that Angela says that. So Angela just overcame a very deep, deep fear of crossing bridges, but she overcame it. Anxiety and everything. Listen.
Yes.
But see, amygdala or not. But I like that you talk about that because I've always been a proponent of what I call it is conscious parenting. So being aware that my children are their own people outside of myself. And there are a lot of people, parents in this world that are like, oh yeah, I'm going to be non-judgmental. I'm going to be open for my kid. But you are not prepared for the teenage years and hearing what they're going to say to you, especially in this day and age. And I'll tell you, my daughter going through what she went through, and she went through she goes through a lot of serious mental stuff, you
Mhm.
know, but because of it, because I have met her from a space of love and being like, listen, I'm here for you. And this happens, and telling her about my own stories, like, listen, look, your mom did the same stuff. You know, and it happened, and meeting her with a different reaction than I was met with when I was growing up. And it has really propelled us into the space where she feels comfortable to talk to me about these things. But you guys, sometimes she tells me stuff and I'm like, okay, I have to breathe through this. I have to
Mhm.
breathe through this. You know, things that she has gone through and things that she's seen. And I have to remind myself to be grateful for the fact that she's actually coming to me and having these conversations, that she
Yes.
talks to me about her friends, that she talks to me about what her and her friends talk about. Like, that's a huge deal. And I tell people all the time, you know, it's so easy to put our belief systems into our children. And what we
Yes.
forget is that we are given and I don't talk about this enough, but we're given the first 18 years of a child's life for a very large reason.
Yes.
And it is not because we are set to turn them into ourselves. That's
Right.
not what's supposed to happen. We're, like you said, we're supposed to teach them how to go out into the world and not
Mm.
lose themselves within it, right? Like, we don't want to lure
Yes.
children. I tell my daughter all the time, listen, family or not, if they are distressing to your mental health, you
Mhm.
don't have to talk to them. You guys, I can't, it kills me. It kills me when I have to hear, well, you have to forgive them because they're your family. If they're bad for you, toxic, no,
Okay. How old's your daughter, can I ask?
she's 14.
Okay, so she's 14. You're right. But for a 14-year-old, if we look at it from their perspective, through their eyes, right?
Mhm,
They have developed and built a culture, right? A culture, a group.
mhm.
They've already at 14 decided what they will and will not accept. It doesn't mean that you cannot influence that. So my question that I would pose to her is, how do you think, how does that make you feel? How do you think that makes you feel? So when you accept them because they're your family, how does that make you feel?
Mhm.
And see what kind of reaction you get. See what kind of conversation you have with that. Because I think we really honestly need to do is we need to dig deeper. We need to dig deeper underneath that and try to really honestly influence. So I'll use for an example. My son, again, I was away this weekend and he had a challenge with his dad, right? So I used that as a learning tool. He had a challenge with his dad, and I said, hey, look, your dad can be challenging to deal with. Absolutely. You've got that right. But the key here is you're going to go out in the world someday and you're going to have to deal with challenging people.
Yep.
So, what is it that we can do today, right now? What skill do you need from me to help you handle this. And we worked through it. And so to me, that interaction was providing him the tools that he needs in his chest, not for just that moment, but for the moments going forward. For the moments going forward. And he'll also take those tools and be able to use those with his friends. So using this example that you're with your daughter, perfect example of how you could really lean into her and you can really impact the way she handles her relationships. And really, honestly, it just takes a small shift, just a small, tiny shift, and you can really change the landscape for her.
And you know what? I'm very appreciative for that, because I'm always looking for the way to just relate. I call it relating to her with love, but also relating to her and being able to show up in the space of showing her what it looks like to actually have boundaries myself, to center myself in my own emotions. Like that was a big thing for me. Coming from a family that was divorce, based, and having two totally different styles of parenting surrounding me, it really messed me up for a very long time. And for a very long time, I was so disconnected from who I was. I didn't know what it was to control emotion and to actually feel emotion. I remember the first time someone said, well, you're going to have to feel it. And I remember after the divorce feeling the anger, and I was like, oh my God, if I have to do this again, I don't want to. Like, you mean I have to sit here and feel this? And they're like, yeah, that's healthy. That's how you heal. I'm like, but I'm really mad. And they're like, okay, be really mad. And I remember having that conversation with my daughter. She was really angry about something. I said, listen, you can be very angry. That I want you to be really angry, but you also have to still understand that if you're so angry that you're going to say something you might regret, go in the other room and take space. Like, I said that in front of someone. They're like, you let your daughter do that? I'm like, yeah, she's mad. I said, when you're angry, what do you hate? And they're like, well, I hate someone getting in my face wanting to talk about it. I said, okay, she's not any different. She's mad. Go in the other room, calm down, and then come back and let's talk about it. And you can tell me why you were mad. If I made you mad, tell me. Like, I'm not going to know.
Yes.
And so I love that you talk about giving them that space and honoring them, because again, like the social media thing, my daughter's the same way. Like, she does have social media, but she's not huge on it. And I don't pull her into mine, because I respect that she likes to have her privacy. And to be honest, in this day and age, I don't want to like tout her out there anyways. Yeah. She's 14 and we're
I agree.
On the internet. So
absolutely. Absolutely.
I have to ask, like, I know you said you were led by divine, like, by God and stuff. And that's how I feel I'm led. I always feel that God always has his hands on me, and it's always guiding me. So what really like influenced you to decide that, okay, like this is the route I'm going to go with my business? Like this, I know you talked about seeing the relationship, but when in your heart did you know, like, you know what, this is the right thing and this is where I need to go with this? Because so often, like, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but so often we don't trust ourselves. This is something I see coming across a lot. A lot of people going, well, should I do this? Should I come on and talk about this? And it's like, well, what do you think? What do you think? And we don't ask ourselves that question enough. What do you think? What do you think? Like, to yourself, what do you think? So what was it that you were like, you know what, this is it. This is the right thing for me?
You mean the coaching, the relationship coaching. So I think it was, I knew that I took the relationship coach training and I knew it was relationship, but then it wasn't until I was in my networking group and I was talking with the founder of my networking group and he was just asking me to, some questions. And it dawned on me after that day that I'm like, I am all about family. My life has been about family. I have been looking for family for a really long time. It was everything that I did, every step I took was about that connection. It was absolutely about this connection that I was looking for, that I was really craving when I was a young one. I was really craving the connection. And, and people might say, well, like, oh my gosh, how did you not find yourself in different different spots looking for that connection? I believe it was all divine. Because in the end, I believe that God had this purpose for me. And it becomes clear every single day of this journey that He absolutely wants to do this. This is on my heart, to transform the way families interact with one another. Absolutely. I'm so passionate about it. I have found that connection inside myself. And when I have that connection inside myself, and I thought it was interesting that you made that comment that you feel like the sense of grounding, and I had someone else say that I feel so absolutely grounded. And that is one of the reasons why I know without a doubt that this is my purpose. This is what God has led me to. It might have taken me a long time to get here, but in the end, it is what He wants me to do. It's His work. He's leading me.
You should be a speaker. I'm just like, oh, yes, you are doing what you're supposed to do. Oh my gosh. Oh Lord. Oh, like I just feel like I've been through a really motivational seminar.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Ashley.
You really, like, your passion is very contagious. And I think that's one of my favorite things to bring on and showcase is really what it looks like to be walking in your purpose. I feel like for women especially, that is such a thing that we question. What is my purpose? Mm-hmm. What am I here for? And I always say, well, go back and look at what caused you pain in life. And they're like, well, that's like a strange thing to look at. And I'm like, no, it's not. There's a reason you had that pain. Mm-hmm. Like if I had never known what it was like to feel unempowered and to feel like I had no control over my life and to go through that journey of taking my life back and tapping into who I was, I said, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. Mm-hmm. I would have never had a reason to do it. I would have just been going along on another purpose. I said, but God, I mean, when you go back and you look at what you've gone through in life and you've come through, ask yourself, how has that affected you in your day-to-day now? And how do you see yourself utilizing that in your future? And I said, and I can guarantee you that's how you're walking into your purpose. Mm-hmm. Oh, and she says, Savitri, I can't say the last name. Oh, that's awful. I'm watching this live.
That's okay.
And I have to really ask, what does it look like? I mean, you talk about the passion, so I'm kind of reiterating here, but what does it look like every day to wake up and really walk in that purpose to help people in this space?
Oh my gosh. I just, and I don't want to paint this like crazy, like Alice in Wonderland picture, but I'm saying on my good days when I am super connected, right? Because we don't want to portray this thing like I'm waking up like Susie Sunshine every day, because it's not real. I have my best self and my best self and my anti-self too. Like I still do that. I still vacillate between the two. But I'm saying when you really honestly know, like, I'm feeling really energetic right now, being here. When you really honestly know, it is just such a gift. I mean, after you and I finish our conversation, I do meditations on my page for a community, and I am so grateful to be alive. I am so absolutely, I am in love with every detail of my life. The good, the bad, the ugly. I know that I can hold space for resistance. I can hold space for my pain. and know that I'm not going to die. Whereas years ago, sometimes that pain could be so overwhelming. And I'm so grateful that I did the work that I need to do, and I continue to do the work that I need to do to be in this place. But I'm telling you, it's a work. I work on myself daily, daily. There's no stopping. It's not like I've reached my destination and that's it. In order for me to serve my clients, I need to be working on myself on a continual basis.
Mm. And so I have to ask you, that's like going to be the next question. And Savitri says, hi. Okay. Hello. Welcome. I have to ask, because this is something that I think is super important. And I don't often get the chance to ask a whole lot of people about this when they are a lot of women. But what is the things that you do to groom that and to keep continuing your own self-care? Because I know for me, mine is like, and I told you before, it's like Reiki healing, breath work. I'm getting ready to start yoga, meditation, like brain dumping, like all the things. So I'm always curious to see what other people do to help cultivate their relationship with themselves.
I am a dancer through and through. I dance. I ballroom dance. And I also am super passionate about meditation. I feel like meditation is my time to go within and really hug the shit out of myself. And when
sticker, go hug the shit out of yourself.
I love ballroom dance, and I feel like when I'm connected to my creative side, is when I feel most like what is the word I'm searching for? Like free. I feel so free. And it's like through that freedom, it just brings me so much joy and so much energy that I just, everybody can tell when I'm joyful, because when I'm joyful, I am dancing. I am absolutely dancing. I feel like such a free spirit. And yeah.
I love it. And hold on. Savitri's like, she says full body orgasms. Dance. Actually, I got out of breath work and I was like, oh my God, I just want to dance right now. Like, I just want to dance. I just want to do this. And it wasn't even like dance. I actually have always been attracted to salsa dancing. Like, I'm going to learn to salsa dance. Okay.
Oh, learn it. And it's so good for your business too. Leading and following, giving and receiving. It's wonderful.
I will have to look into that though, because I have always wanted to learn how to dance. So she says sleep, swings, singing. My God, Savitri, you have like the best life. Laughter. And Shay says, yes, I love to ground while sleeping. I do too. I like to listen to binaural beats when I sleep, like just really deep delta waves. I was like, oh, something so soothing about your brain. But oh man, like you've got me all hyped up now. I'm like, I'm gonna have to go dance after I get off.
Do it.
Well, I definitely want to meditate. That was something that for a long time I let that go, and I really wasn't as consistent. And it was very harsh. It made life very harsh. My relationship with myself was really fragmented from it for a while. And when you are coming from that space of dealing, especially, and this is a term that I didn't realize was a real thing, but it's called childhood post-traumatic stress disorder. Like that's a real thing. And I'm like, childhood traumatic stress disorder, something like that, CTSD. And they're like, you can absolutely, most children who come from families of divorce and anything that's traumatic like that, like where the divorce was really bad too, you have that and you don't realize that until you become an adult. And I'm like, oh, I was like, well,
what's interesting, Ashley, is I was in my low 20s and I couldn't figure out, like, I'd have conversations with people and I couldn't figure out why I wasn't able to remember parts of my life, right? Like, whole chunks of my life were missing. Like, people be talking about their first grade teacher and their second grade teacher and this and that. And I'd be like, this is really strange. Do I have like some type of brain injury? I'm like, what is wrong with me? And yes, the brain, when the brain goes through trauma, the brain shuts off as a protective mechanism.
Mm.
And it tells you, you know, like, no, you only have so much room, and I'm going to kind of protect you and teach you like what, you know, what it is safe to remember and what is not safe. And what I found is through my journey is when it was safe was when I was feeling secure, I was able to then bring those things into my mind and process them. But it wasn't until my mind was telling me I was ready that I could hold space for that.
Hmm. And I love that you put that because, you know, looking back, I would say the first 10 years of my life, I probably can't tell you many memories from that, like little bits and pieces, but they were always very positive memories. All the other stuff just kind of like does not exist, or I'm sure it's there, but it's not in my conscious, right? And Savitri says, play. That is a wonderful thing. Like, I'm learning to get back into that myself. So it's always a good thing. Everybody should go play. Like, I love to, I love to go, I used to love, well, when I was in Florida, I would go take bike rides to the park and I would go swing.
I love it.
I go to a park, I'm going to swing. Like, my kids hate it. Like, Mom, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to swing, damn it. But she says, I love listening to you, Kimberly. So can relate with your path. We have so much in common. I really enjoyed it. See, this is why I love that. This is like one of my other favorite reasons I love the show is what it creates. Like, women connecting with other women and realizing that you're not alone, because the world, and we're so connected, yet they say we're so disconnected at the same time.
Yes, you are so right. You are absolutely right. And Angela, I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for that. And anyone else that may be listening live or listening to the replay, know that you are not alone. You are never alone. You are such a blessing. And just remember that, you know, remember that you count. You are a blessing. You are so important. And in the end, you are so loved.
Amen. Hallelujah. God, we're having church, y'all. We're having Savitri says, swing all the time. Hey, I do. Let me tell you what. There have been times where I've been driving and I go by a park. I'm like, I'm just gonna go swing. Like, I'm gonna swing. And you know what it is? I think it's from when I was in childhood. I used to fly a lot, and I just remember that feeling of going up into the air and being up there and just feeling free. Like, not having, you're just in air and you're floating and nothing else matters. And I remember, I always, like, it's funny because those are the ones I do actually remember. It's like, I always remember looking out the window and just seeing the clouds and imagining myself flying through the clouds like Peter Pan. That was all as a child. And so for me, swinging is that neural pathway for me to joy. Yes. It's like, because what I'll do is I'll do the full lean back too. I'll like go all the way back and I'll let my head hang out and I'll just put my feet up. And it's just that feeling of freedom and flying. Like, that's always my visual with it. So for me, that is a great amount of joy. And now I'm going to have to go swing tomorrow. Or roller coasters. It took me till my early 20s to like roller coasters. And I will tell you why before I go to the next one. I don't know if any of you know what the Tower of Terror is.
Yes.
Okay. My dad decided that at 5 years old, now I have a memory, that he was going to take me on the Tower of Terror, but he wasn't going to tell me what it was. Oh, no. He said, oh, it's just a normal elevator. Come on. He's like, he just thinks it's hilarious. All right. So we go in the Tower of Terror and we get all the way up, right? And, you know, it opens up and you can see out there. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. He's like, okay, hold on. And I'm like, yeah, needless to say, my dad felt like a total jerk after that, because when he said, when we got off, I had to like kind of carry you off. He's like, I felt so bad because you were so freaked out. And I just knew that I could never do that again. And I was like, so you ruined roller coasters and like drop stuff for me for oh, a good 16 years. You know, I was like early 20s before I ever went on a roller coaster, and I was like, oh my God. And she, of course,
That's not a surprise.
you're just dropping like what, 13 stories? Just dropping 13 stories. I think that's why I have a deep innate fear of roller like elevators, like getting stuck in one. I'm always like, you know, anytime they like lurch funny, I'm like, all right, we're gonna get off at the next stop and take the staircase. But yeah, so I'm glad you love the Tower of Terror. I do not have that ride. All right. Yeah. I like the space ride one, the space ride roller coaster. I can't remember. I like that one. I like that one. All right. So I have to ask though, because we're already at almost an hour. Like that's crazy how quick that passes. But looking back on your life, if someone was to come to you and ask for 3 pieces of advice, this is always my favorite. I like to ask you these questions. What would be the 3 pieces of advice you'd give someone on their journey to get them through?
Ashley, that's deep. Because there's
simple, yet it's not. You really have to like think about it. Like, oh wow, what would I tell somebody?
Yeah, there's so many. I would have to say that love hard. Love hard. Keep your boundaries. I have more than 3. Sorry.
Yeah, I always say 3 because some people are just like, well, I really only have 1. I'm like, no, you've got 3. Just got to think about it.
I love hard. You know, love. You know, well. I guess I should say, do everything with love. Do everything with love. Set those boundaries, and prioritize yourself. Prioritize yourself. You matter. You count. You absolutely matter. You absolutely count. It doesn't matter what your circumstances are. Absolutely not. You matter. You matter. You count. Absolutely.
Go hug the shit out of yourself.
Yes. Go hug the shit out of yourself.
That's gonna be like, I'm gonna make that into a quote. Go hug the shit out of yourself.
Yeah. You know what? And Ashley, for any of your listeners that might be listening live or listening to the replay, you know, and I know that one of your listeners tonight said that, you know, my story resonated with her, and I'm so grateful for that. But I want to leave people to really honestly, you know, look at your journey. If there were pieces of your journey that were missing. So like for me in my younger childhood, I feel like sometimes I didn't have a childhood. You know, I was too busy being a grown-up. I was too busy being a grown-up for people, and I missed out on a lot. But you know what? I felt another reason why I feel that God led me, you know, this is completely divinely led, is that when I was working in the childcare facility or facilities throughout the years, it enabled me, well, even with my caseload of speech clients, it enabled me to be a child, to draw, to play games, to run, to jump. So when we least expect it, right? So I may have not been able to do that at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 a lot. But I sure did get to do that as an adult. I got to run and jump and play and be a kid and love my journey. And so I encourage you, if you feel like you're going to that place where you're feeling like, oh, you know, I didn't get to do this or I didn't get to do that, stop, look at the present moment and do it today. Do it today. Do it absolutely today. If that's what you need to nurture yourself, do it today and hug the shit out of yourself.
I use that as a tagline for something like, I think that should be a speech for you. I'm just saying, or a book. Go hug the shit out of yourself. Like that could be a book. And Shay says, be authentic. Yes. And I think the beautiful thing about authenticity is you really have to be yourself. So to be authentic means to know yourself. And for me, there is no greater gift in this world to myself than to know who I am at my core. So, and then Savitri says, yes, authenticity. And she says, gotta sleep. I'm going to sleep very soon after this. He's very tired. But so, all right. So this is the end part, and this has been phenomenal. I mean, like, this has given me life. This has just been, she says it's finishing. I'm going to sleep straight after. Thank you for staying up, Shay. Although I hope you get lots of rest. You did not sound at all like, I understand. I was sick about a week ago. So yeah, definitely lots of rest. So tell everybody about how they can connect with you, because I have no doubt that people will want to connect after this. Tell people where they can connect with you. What's the best place to find you? And then we are going to end this.
Absolutely. So if you'd like to find me, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on my personal page, Kimberly Lechnick, on my business page, Intentional Pathways by Design. And I'll go ahead and post that in the comments. You can also find me on LinkedIn. And I also am the welcoming coordinator in the networking or the welcoming coordinator for an entrepreneurial group. You can find me at Entrepreneurs Creating Impact, welcoming members into our business group. And you can also find me at Intentional Pathways BD by Design at .com at my website. Lots of places to find me, lots of places, and lots of places to get involved. I do meditation on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, and our community is growing and thriving, and we're all on a mission to connect with ourselves. All on a mission for sure. This was absolutely fantastic, Ashley.
Thank you so much. This was really, like I said, I think all conversations that happen on here are very divinely like. So when people are like, well, what do you do when somebody drops out? I'm like, well, I just get the guest that's supposed to come on. And they're like, well, that sounds harsh. And I said, no, man. I said, because, everybody's episode is their episode. Like, it always hits at the right time. So, oh yeah. And she says, happy International Women's Day for Sunday. Loving the sisterhood. Thanks for stepping in. Oh, well, I can't wait to have you come on. But yes, I am so thankful, Kimberly. Thank you for coming on at the last moment. Like, seriously, it always, when this started, I think I had a guest pop out on me one time. And then after that, I said, you know what? I'm not going to worry. The right people will come along. And every time that a scheduling conflict or something, I've literally never had to look any longer than 10 minutes. And somebody has come on, and the show has always been really awesome. So thank you so much for this. This has been awesome. Definitely, yes. Make sure you put your stuff in there so that everybody can connect. Deborah says, good conversation. And the best part about this, minus a couple people, all the women that came on here have already been on this show. So you are in a club now. You are in.
Yay!
I always say you guys are the special group, because when the show takes off, and it will, when this show takes off, you guys are going to be the one that say, hey, look, I helped found that show. Like, I was on that episode. You're always going to have your episode. So I'm very excited to continue providing this space for women to come on and talk about these things, because this is important. Like you said, this is, you are needed and wanted, and your story has a purpose. So I will continue to promote and champion more women's stories for as long as I can, until the day I die and I can't talk anymore, which is going to be a long time from now. All right. So, all right, you guys, as always, every Tuesday and Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will meet here at the table. We will have lots of awesome conversations. And just so you guys know, I am opening up the table for more episodes. Angela says, when you are the first woman president. Listen, I'm not against it, okay? I'm not against it. I'm going to tell you, the world just better get prepared, because the world just needs to get prepared. I don't know, Angela, if the world's ready for my mouth or my sense yet. We'll see. We'll see. But you guys, I'm opening up episodes for quite some time. So if you feel like you have a story to share and you have one, if you don't think you have one, you do. if you feel like you have a story to share and you've always wanted it, this is the space to do it. I know there's a lot of women that are like, well, I have a story. I don't know how to share it. So listen, this is it. Come on here, share your story. And I'm opening this up even further before we get off here. Your story does not have to be business related, okay? For the longest time, the TUF Woman Table has always been about what's the story behind why you got into business. And I'll tell you guys, it is because I wanted to help other women see that it's possible. And I still think that's a beautiful thing. I want there to be those stories too. But I realized along this journey that all stories needed to be brought to the table. If we were really going to have conversations, all stories had to be brought to the table. We had to open the dialogue extensively. So for any woman that wants to share her story, whatever that story looks like, I want you to click the link that is in the bio for the TUF Woman Table, and I want you to get on the show. You guys are going to see things change a little bit in the way that we do it, but it's going to be great. I'm going to start introducing things like panels of women. So we're going to have like multi-panels of women. So you guys, I'm really excited to see the show evolve. I'm so grateful for you, Kimberly, for coming on. Like literally that was like a breath of fresh air for me. Like this whole day has just been like massively high energy. So that ended it very well. In fact, I'm going to have to go meditate after this and just sit in the energy for a little bit. So, all right, you guys, and I suggest you do the same. Go meditate and hug the shit out of yourself. You know what? I'm telling you, Kimberly, you need to do something with that. Go hug the shit out of yourself. That should be a book. If you haven't written a book yet, there's your book. Go hug the shit out of yourself. Life lessons to get you by. Okay? So, all right, you guys. I will see you guys next Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ladies, click that link. Set your show up. Don't even think about it. Just know that you want to do it. Okay. All right. And I will talk to y'all later. Bye.